Beyond Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis' 1988 U.S. presidential run and First Lady Kitty Dukakis' books and mental health advocacy lies a human story of personal heartache and perseverance.
Governor Dukakis and First Lady Dukakis, how did you first know that you were meant for each other?
I was a senior, Kitty was a freshman in high school. But there was this Kitty Dixon person that all the boys in the freshman class were talking about. So I looked and I said, so that's Kitty Dixon. And here we are, 54 years later.
After graduating from Harvard Law School and serving in the military, Dukakis became Massachusetts governor and U.S. presidential nominee. His loss to George Bush took a toll on Kitty, whose depression and shock therapy made her a mental health advocate.
First Lady Dukakis, you have written Now You Know and Shock.
ECT experts use our book as an introduction for their patients.
Kitty, for no apparent reason, began having these cycles of depression, starting in her early 40s. Had the treatment, and it stopped the depression like that. I mean, it was incredible.
But that doesn't happen very often. We feel so strongly about being public.
The couple opened their home to ECT support groups, and the governor rides the subway to work as a political science professor. His insights are in demand, both on campus and in national media, given his lessons learned as U.S. presidential nominee.
You won the Democratic
nomination. Sorry to say, I didn't win. Politics is a contact sport. You've got to assume you're going to have to be competitive, and you're going to be subject to criticism.
President Bush Sr.'s campaign advisor in 1988, Lee Atwater, known as the Babe Ruth of negative politics, ran ads ridiculing Dukakis' positions on military and crime. In 1991, sobered by a brain tumor, Atwater apologized to Dukakis for his campaign's naked cruelty.
What lessons did you learn from going through that process?
Well, there were two big ones. I mean, one is I had made a decision that I was not going to respond to the Bush attack campaign. That was a mistake. And secondly, I had always won campaigns with very intensive precinct-based grassroots organizing. And in those days, when you talk to people, they'd say, well, maybe that's okay for local office, but not for the presidency. It was Barack Obama who proved without a doubt that precinct-based grassroots organizing works for a presidential campaign. But I regret very much that I didn't win the presidency. I mean, I think things might be considerably different. I kid around and say if I'd beaten old man Bush, he'd have never heard of his kid, and we wouldn't be in this mess in the Middle East.
The White House of Presidents Bush, Clinton, Obama, and Trump witnessed seismic changes from a 24-hour news cycle to the internet to social media. Dukakis talks about our fragmented and polarized media and political climate and what he would focus on today.
How do you think it's different now from then?
Well, the media thing is different. I think the fact that you have this 24-hour news cycle involved in the social media, I don't think what Trump does makes any sense at all. It's getting him into big trouble. It's this constant tweeting.
If you were president today,
I think guys like me want to help create a country in which people at every level of society have an opportunity to achieve the best that is in them. If we're going to create a world in which war is ruled out as a means for settling disputes, the UN has to be an institution that we support. It's going to take that kind of international organization.
With high ideals and strong family roots, Governor Michael Dukakis and First Lady Kitty Dukakis are living richly and fully, riding fortune's waves with courage, dignity, and grace.
today we have an extra special treat. We have here with us today the co-owners of Relax Now Studios, Marvin Henry and Lisa Duncan.
Well, today I'm going to do a demo of basically a shoulder and head massage. I'm guessing she probably looks at a computer screen a lot, so she has a lot of tightness in this area.
I always get a lot of tension in that lower back area.
Yes, lower back is normally where we feel a lot of our stress.
I mean, you mentioned a couple of technological challenges that we're all facing is using the laptop or computer all the time, and that's going to affect our neck. And then also just sitting all the time, that's going to affect our lower back.
Yes.
So as a masseur, have you found any remedies?
Proper posture. If you sit correctly, it will take off a lot of the tension off our lower back.
Well, there must be some difficulties starting a business like that on your own. What were some, obstacles that you faced?
Money. That's definitely one of the biggest factors that you all have to deal with starting up a new business. But once you're just passionate about it and you're just doing it just because you love to do it, whether or not you have money, you're still gonna be able to do it, you know?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy and I'm very jealous of Lisa here. I wish I could be on this table, and thank you at home for joining us. Welcome to OurVyu. Today I'm happy to bring our guest, Jimmy Tingle. He is a comedian who has recently decided to run for political office as Lieutenant Governor of the state of Massachusetts. Welcome, Jimmy Tingle.
Marcia, thank you so much for having me today.
First, I think the viewers would really like to know, who is Jimmy Tingle? What makes him
That is a
tick?
good question. Who is Jimmy Tingle? Well, I grew up in Cambridge. Good family. My dad was in the cab business. Used to own taxi cabs. Our whole family used to go everywhere in a big yellow taxi cab. Went to college at UMass Dartmouth and got out of college and started doing comedy in the early 80s. And then I went back to school in 2010 because I wanted to do something. I wanted to see if I could use entertainment for purposes beyond just entertainment. I was always more attracted to the political figures that affected other people's lives in a direct way, changed policies, changed the country. John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, people like this, Barack Obama.
Actually, at the Kennedy School,
Yeah.
you were chosen to be the graduation speaker.
My name is Jimmy Tingle, and that is my real name. I am an unlikely choice to give a commencement address at Harvard. I'm a comedian by profession. By the 8th grade, our whole neighborhood had their eyes set on Harvard. Not so much for scholarships, but because it was an excellent place to steal bicycles.
I understand you didn't actually steal any bikes.
Not that day.
For a comedian to transition into politics, it's definitely not without precedent. There's been Al Franken, Jesse Ventura, Ronald Reagan, Sonny Bono, and Donald Trump, all former celebrity television entertainment personalities.
I think one thing that entertainers have an advantage in is that they, for a living, they connect with the audience. The question sometimes becomes, well, you know, you're an entertainer, you haven't been in government before, can you do the job? I asked a friend of mine, I said, Jimmy, do you know who the president is?
Yes.
So I think I can do the job.
Okay. Now, I had a friend who was wondering and wanted me to ask you what your political aspirations might be.
Okay. I'll just explain how this whole campaign started, if I may. I was doing events with Barney Frank, Congressman Barney Frank, last October for Hillary. I said, Barney, do you think it's too late for me to get into politics? He said, no, not at all. Long story short, Barney has agreed to be the honorary chairperson of our campaign, which is really cool, because I believe very, very strongly that government matters and government can change people's lives. During the 1980s in the comedy scene, I had 3 friends die from alcohol and drug-related crime issues. And honestly, I felt like I was dying. I was using way too much alcohol. There were drugs around the clubs. There's no room, there's no beds, you don't have insurance, etc. I called one place, the Cambridge City Hospital. I said, I need help. The man said, you called the right place. I went into that hospital. I stayed 7 days through Christmas of 1987. I got out, I moved to New York. I prayed a lot. I focused on stand-up comedy and sobriety. A year later, I went on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Would you welcome Jimmy Tingle? Jimmy?
And I'm running for lieutenant governor largely to ensure that when anybody in the state of Massachusetts picks up the phone and reaches out for help, the person on the other end will always say, you called the right place.
That's what I love about your story. It has so much heart and hope.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a million for having me. This is a great studio. You have an awesome show.
Oh, thank you. Jimmy
Congratulations.
Tingle.